So you want to know one of the most underappreciated cars that I've figured out recently is the Z31. Now I've known about the Z31 for a long time, but now doing research for this video, there's so little forums and so little videos on the car compared to any other Z that I think it's kind of crazy. When I was looking for background videos, I mean, they were hard to come by, and so as the information. But I got all that I could find, and this is the Z31 300Zx Ultimate Buyer's Guide. And shout out to Quinn Witters for giving me this idea. This is for you, dude. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the years, the trims, the common problems these cars have, the things that add value when buying one of these, and the 5 rarest colors. The Z31 ran from 1984 to 1989, and a couple cool things about this car that makes this car unique is that this was the first Z car that used a V6 instead of an inline 6 like the 240Z, the 260, and the 280. And one thing that is very impressive is that the drag coefficient on this car is only 0.30, which makes this car up there on the list of the most aerodynamic cars. But enough about the cool facts, let's get into the different trims that this car had. From 1984 to 1987, that was considered the pre-facelift model, and there's two different engine options. You either got the naturally aspirated VG30E or the turbo VG30ET. The naturally aspirated engine had 160 horsepower and 170 foot-pounds of torque with a 0 to 60 of 8.2 seconds. The turbo model with the T3 Garrett turbo made 200 horsepower and 227 foot-pounds of torque and had a 0 to 60 of 7.1 seconds. The facelift model running from 1988 to 1989 had those same two engines, but they got a little bump in power. The NA model went from 160 horsepower to 165 with the same amount of torque.
Come on, man.
And the turbo went from 200 to 205. But the crazy thing is, with that extra 5 horsepower, you'd think this car would be faster. But because they added 215 pounds of new tech, this car was 0.3 of a second slower.
Oh, come on, man.
And the last thing you want to look out for, depending on what you like, is either a 2+0 or a 2+2. 2+2 pretty much means that there's 4 seats, and the 2+2 means it's a 2-seater. The 2 back seats in the 2+2 are not big at all, and the only thing that could fit back there comfortably is a midget. But it does offer more cargo space because you can put things back there. So if you want this to be more of a daily, then get the 2+2. But if you want it to be a weekend warrior, then the 2+0 is perfect. And now that we got all that out of the way, let's move on to the common problems you might find when checking one of these bad boys out. If the acceleration is sticking when you're test driving this car, don't worry, this is an easy fix. All you have to do is locate the throttle cable and cut off that little rubber boot that is sliding around on the cable. This kind of gets sticky sometimes and can keep the throttle open. And as long as you have brakes, this won't happen to you. If the brake lights don't turn off, don't worry because it's not a complicated wiring issue. All you have to do is replace the small plastic brake stoppers on the brake pedal or a module in the trunk, either or, but both of them are not that hard to do. Now, if you have a lot of wear on the inside of your tires, on the rear wheels, there's 2 different reasons for this. One is that the last owner of the car drives it harder than normal, and when you do this, the inside of the tires wear more than the outside. Now, if he drives the car normal, there will be fairly even wear, but the more serious issue with inner tire wear is that the crossmember bushings and the rear control arm need to be replaced because the rubber bushings aren't holding the car together anymore, and they're giving the rear wheels camber. Another common issue with these cars is that the vacuum lines need to be replaced. An easy way to check this while you're test driving the car is turn the AC to cold on full blast and accelerate hard. If suddenly it blows hot air, then you'll be needing to replace these hoses, and there's about $100 worth of hoses. So this is a good way to bargain down the price a little bit. Another way to get the price down a little bit more is, of course, T-tops. C-tops always tend to leak if the seals haven't been replaced recently. A good way to make sure you know if they leak or not is go through a brushless car wash and see if any of the water gets through. If the water gets through, it's a great way to get the price down on this car a little bit more. Now, something that's a little bit more serious is make sure that they did the fuel injection recall. If not, the fuel injectors could leak and can cause fire. Again, not that good if you're in it.
I'm in danger.
And also make sure to do this right away if you end up buying the car, because who knows what can happen in the short amount of time you put this off. If you're looking at a 1984 to a 1986 model, just be aware that these manual transmissions are considered fragile. Rebuilds don't cost too much money, but they do wear more than the 87 to the 89. And just like a 2J or a 4AGE engine from a Toyota, these also run on timing belts. So make sure when you go to check out the car, ask the owner for a receipt. If there is no receipt, do not trust the guy. Never trust anyone.
I'm scared, Dad.
Do you trust me, son?
Yes.
Come on, son.
Rule number 1, never trust anybody.
But if he has an actual receipt of when it's done, make sure that it's done fairly recently. You're supposed to replace it every 60,000 miles, and if you wait longer, you have the chance that timing belt will snap, and since the VG is an interference engine, you're just pretty much screwed. You have to get a whole nother engine, so better to be safe than sorry and get that timing belt done if it hasn't already been done. Another common problem with these cars is that if you're hearing clunking while test driving the car, it could be something really bad, but at the same time, it could just be your transmission, engine, or differential mounts that have ended up separating, and that's why it's causing that clunking noise while driving. Another common issue with this car is if you hear an exhaust leak or a ticking noise that sounds like it's coming from the exhaust area, that is very common. The exhaust touches break because of old age, and they could be letting some exhaust out and making that ticking noise. And now for the last problem, which is very prominent on old cars, rust. Common places for rust in these cars is underneath the spare tire, above the muffler, and under the toolkit. That's it, and if you check those places and there's no rust, most likely there won't be any rust on the rest of the car. So if you're looking for a 300ZX that is more simple and easy to repair than the Z32, this is it. But the only downside to this car is that there's not that much aftermarket support, and to some people this car doesn't look as good. In my eyes, I think this one actually looks better, but I'm more of a boxy guy than a curvy guy. Now that we got all the common problems out of the way, let's get into the things that will add value if you see them on the car you're looking at. The first thing is if you see a 50th anniversary edition, that is going to be more of a sought after car because of its rarity. They only made 5,000 of these. And this car only came with a turbocharger, a digital dash, and ancillary gauges such as a G-force meter and average mileage. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's an 80s car, a digital dash, I love those. That's something that I'm really looking for. I just want to let you guys know that these have some problems, and when they go bad, they're kind of worthless at this point. For 1988, they had a really cool edition called a Shiro edition, which was finished in a pearl white paint. It was a performance oriented with stiffer springs and shocks, heavy duty anti-sway bars, paint matched wheels, Recaro seats, a unique front air dam, white painted door handles, and a limited slip differential. In 1988, this was the fastest car to come out of Japan, and it was capable of hitting 153 miles per hour with the limiter removed. The United States only got 1,000 of these, so they're very rare to find, but if you do find one, that is an instant cop. Like I was talking about earlier, the transmissions in the 1984 to 86 model years were considered fragile, so 87 to an 89 with that turbo manual transmission is more desirable. Another thing that is pretty rare, and if you find it, you found a gem, is a slick top 300ZX. There was only 563 turbo slick tops made. 562 of them were made in 1984, and one was made in 1985. So if you find that 1985 one, you are super lucky. Now we're going to move on to the top 5 rarest colors for the 300ZX Z31. Now there is a small problem for this car. For some reason they made a lot of different colors and then only put it on one car. I don't know if it's a special edition. I couldn't figure it out, but I'm gonna go through the list of I think 6 colors that they only made 1 or 2 of. For dark brown metallic in 1984 they made 2. They made nugget gold metallic in 1984 and they made 3. Wine metallic and Regita red, it's a 2-tone color, 1984 they made 1. A 2-tone blue mist metallic and black blue metallic, they made 1. A 2-tone light pewter metallic and dark pewter metallic, 1984 they made 1. And they made a dark purple metallic 1988 and they made 2. I went through those super fast because I could only find one picture, if any, and they were just too rare that I don't think anybody could find them. But the next 5 on the list are somewhat obtainable because at least they made 500 or more. So the first on this list is called Cherry Red Pearl. This was made in 1989, right before they switched to the Z32, and they made 501 of these. This is the only picture I could find on the internet of one of these, and the rest, I guess they carry the color on to the Z32s, and it became more of a staple color in the Z32 lineup instead of the Z31. Next on the list is Diamond Black Pearl. They made this in 1989, and they only made 624 of these. Again, for some reason, they made this right at the end of the Z31, and for the Z32, this is more of a common color. Nothing much to say other than it just looks black from the pictures I see. But yeah, it's still pretty rare. Next on the list, we have an actually exciting color combo. This is the Thunder Black and Aspen Gold Metallic. This was made in 1985 and 1986. They made 1 of these in 1985 and around 977 in 86. And I stand by this. Any car that is 2-tone just looks 100% better. I love the black and gold combo. This is definitely one of my favorite rare colors for the Z31. And second to last, we have Solar Blue Metallic. This was made in 1988 and 89, and they made 1,027 of these. And although for the other ones, at least I could find some video of the color, for this one, I cannot find any, even though they made more of these in the last three. So here it is. This is the only picture of Solar Blue. And last but definitely not least, we have another two-tone color, Black Blue Metallic and Light Pewter Metallic. This was made in 84 and 85, and they made 1,273 of these. And again, I only can find one picture of this car. I don't know what's up with this car, why I barely can find any information on the colors, and no videos of these cars, but yeah, this is the only picture I got. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and join the Discord. And let me know if you want me to do this on a different car, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.